You can inquire, Ms. Blake.
Thank you. Would you please state your name for the record?
Michael Douglas.
And are you related to a victim in this matter?
I am.
And who is that?
Tammy.
How are you related to Tammy?
I am Tammy's sibling.
Did you prepare a statement for today?
I did.
Would you please read that?
I will. I am Tammy's older brother and the oldest of the Douglas siblings. My experience and the impact this has had on me has been profound. The day Tammy was killed, I received a phone call, and I looked down to see Samantha's name, and I answered the phone. Good morning. Samantha said, "It's not going to be." It turns out she was right. I was in shock, and after the funeral, I drove to Idaho the next morning to be at her Idaho memorial. When I left, I called my wife and told her something was off. I tried to keep everyone from jumping to conclusions, mostly myself. I probably should have done more jumping. When we heard about the marriage, we were given a false date to lead us to believe that it had not been only 2 weeks. Then we found out the real date. I had received a call from my Aunt Vicky and my cousin Julie, encouraging me to pursue an autopsy. I told them I couldn't because I was doing everything I could to keep my mom and dad alive. When we found out about the exhumation, I hoped that there was nothing to be found. I never wanted someone to be more wrong than I wanted Aunt Vicky to be wrong. But it was me that was wrong again. All of us were devastated by the exhumation, but especially my mother. She saw the exhumation as a desecration of Tammy's gravesite. Once Tammy was reinterred, my mom asked that we would meet again at the gravesite, and we did so and held a family service. I then received a phone call from my mother indicating that there were 2 missing children. I remember where I was, what I was doing, and the exact feeling of, oh, please no. Please don't let this be so. My heart sank, and I said to my mom, "Mom, Chad told us they were empty nesters." Surely this is a mistake, not anything to worry about. Maybe they have them in hiding. Maybe there's something else going on. Oh, I was wrong again. People would come up and ask if the kids had been found yet when they would see me in public. And the stress and anxiety grew. And then the day came that the children were found. I broke into more pieces than I can count. I was at work, began crying hysterically, and had to be rushed into an office. I was surrounded by people that had figured out that this was coming long before I did. Hope was lost. I went into therapy, both talk and medicinal. My blood pressure went so high that my doctor prescribed something he'd only done 3 times previous in his long career. He was afraid I was having a stroke right there in the office and had an ambulance on standby in case I did so. When I learned of the results of the autopsy, I did not sleep for 6 weeks. The nightmare fodder that I have been provided will last me a lifetime. My insurance rates have skyrocketed due to the medications I started on right after the children were found, and I'm now ineligible for certain coverages. As the big brother, I felt and I feel like a failure. I failed to protect Tammy. I looked for a silver lining, as we do as big brothers, trying to set up some kind of a win, and none to be found. For the first time in my life, I was unable to function at the level I always had. Work, family, God, all of my relationships suffered. I had to be told by my therapist that I had already lost, that I would not find a win. I have mostly come to terms with that, but the loss is still so very raw. I now have an angry part that has become hopefully not a permanent part of me. People that have known me most of my life don't know who I am. They don't know what I'm going through because they are not the big brother whose sister was killed. I cannot tell you what my dad or siblings have suffered because I did not lose a child or an older sibling. The grief and suffering is unique to each of us, but has driven wedges of misunderstanding. If this were radioactivity we were dealing with, I would look to the half-life to see when the pain and suffering might stop. The half-life of this experience will cover generations and many lifetimes. The scarring continues and the painful things keep happening. I have likened it to being in a slow-motion train crash these past 4.5 years. Watching loved ones and myself, as well as total strangers, caught up in the disaster, continuing to be pummeled with no end in sight. Today, hopefully, that train wreck loses momentum and finally comes to a screeching halt. I helped to found a charity to honor Tammy's legacy and to keep her memory alive. We named it after her, and I have had many suggest that the name Daybell should not be there. That was her name. That was and is her children's names and her grandchildren's names and will continue to be. We have strived to stay out of the public eye, to not do media requests, to not speak publicly about this, because we have attempted to continue our relationships with Tammy's children, to be able to have relationships with her grandchildren, all of their families. We love them and care for them, but there has been an alienation that is as painful as losing Tammy. We have relatives, children that have joined the family that we have not been allowed to meet due to this train wreck that you're all part of. I have been robbed of the opportunity of growing old with my little sister, being grandparents together and teasing each other into old age. I have had my peace stolen, and I have to fight every day to be patient and kind with others and myself. I have had some that have seen my wounds and have attempted to exploit this time of anguish for their personal gain. This train wreck has brought out much good in many, but has fostered much evil in others. I have lost a large portion of my income, my creative energy, and my ability to be of service to others due to the general loss of energy and health that this has caused. I am wounded, broken, sad, angry, disgusted, betrayed, and looking for answers on the constant pain of grief and loss. We hope that after this is over, we can attain closure and healing and take the next steps to finding ways to heal and grow stronger from these wounds afflicted upon us. Tammy, JJ, and Tylee have all been robbed of that choice and that chance.